Welcome starting soon. My dad grounded me in front of 30 relatives. Then his lawyer walked in with the truth. My dad grounded me in front of 30 relatives. Not privately, not calmly, right there in the middle of a loud family dinner. The table was full, uncles, aunts, cousins, and a few family friends. Everyone was laughing, plates clinking, conversations mixing together. Then suddenly my dad slammed his hand on the table. The room went quiet. He looked straight at me. "Since you clearly don't understand responsibility," he said loudly, "you're grounded." Some of my cousins exchanged looks. One of them whispered, "Grounded? He's 18. But my dad didn't care. No car, no money, no leaving the house unless it's for school. He continued, "Maybe that will finally teach you some respect." A few people chuckled. Someone across the table muttered, "About time." I could feel 30 pairs of eyes on me. They were waiting for a reaction, waiting for me to argue, waiting for the scene to get louder. But I didn't give them that. I just sat there quietly. My aunt shook her head like she had always expected me to fail. My cousin leaned back in his chair with a smirk. My dad folded his arms proudly. "You think you know everything," he added, "but look at you. No job, no discipline, no future if you keep acting like this." The words hung in the air. Normally people fight back when they're humiliated like that. Normally people defend themselves. But arguing in front of 30 people doesn't change anything. It only makes the show bigger. So I stayed calm. I pushed my chair back slowly and stood up. The legs scraped lightly across the floor. Someone laughed quietly behind me. Another relative whispered, "Guess he finally got put in his place." I walked toward the hallway without saying a single word. Not angry, not embarrassed, just quiet. Sometimes people insult you publicly because they believe they control the whole story. They think they know everything about you. They think there's nothing left to discover. But the truth has a strange way of showing up when people least expect it. I had just reached the hallway when the front door opened. Everyone turned their heads. A man in a dark suit stepped inside. He looked slightly out of place among the casual family dinner crowd. In one hand, he carried a briefcase. In the other, a small folder. He scanned the room before speaking. "Excuse me," he said calmly. "Is Mr. Harrison here?" My dad frowned. "That's me. Who are you?" The man walked a few steps closer. "My name is Daniel Carter," he said. "I'm your father's lawyer." For a moment, nobody spoke. My grandfather had passed away 2 weeks earlier, but the will reading wasn't supposed to happen until next month. My dad looked confused. "What are you talking about?" he asked. The lawyer opened his briefcase slowly. "I apologize for the unexpected timing," he said, "but there's been an update regarding your father's final instructions." The room became silent. 30 relatives who had been laughing minutes ago were now staring at the lawyer. My dad's confident expression started to fade. "What instructions?" he asked. The lawyer glanced briefly in my direction before answering. "Instructions that involve your son." Now everyone was looking at me. My aunt straightened in her chair. My cousin stopped smiling. My dad's voice turned sharp. "What does he have to do with this?" The lawyer calmly opened the folder. "Your father left a legally binding clause," he said, "and according to this document, the primary beneficiary of his estate is not you." The room felt frozen. My dad blinked. "Then who is it?" he demanded. The lawyer lifted the paper slightly, and then he said the one name no one at that table expected to hear. Mine. The same room that laughed at me 5 minutes ago was now completely silent. My dad slowly turned toward me. For the first time that night, he looked uncertain, and I simply stood there quietly, because sometimes the loudest moment in a room comes right after the truth. The silence in the room felt heavier than any argument could have. 30 relatives who had been laughing minutes earlier were now staring at the lawyer and then at me. My dad forced out a short laugh. "That's ridiculous," he said quickly. "There must be some mistake." But the lawyer didn't react. He simply adjusted the papers in his hand. "There is no mistake," he said calmly. "Your father updated his will 6 months ago." My aunt leaned forward. "Updated it for what reason?" The lawyer glanced around the table before answering. "Because he believed the wrong person was being trusted with his legacy." The room shifted uncomfortably. My dad's confidence began to crack. "My father would never cut me out," he snapped. The lawyer opened another document. "Your father left a written explanation," he said. "He believed his grandson showed more patience, discipline, and respect than anyone else in the family." A few relatives slowly turned toward me again. The same cousins who had been whispering about me earlier were suddenly very quiet. The lawyer continued. "The estate includes the house, the rental properties, and the investment accounts." Someone gasped softly. Everyone in that room knew how much that was worth. My dad's face turned pale. "This is insane," he muttered. "He's just a kid." The lawyer shook his head slightly. "No, according to your father, he's the only one who listened." That's when the room got even quieter, because they all remembered something I never mentioned. For years, I had been the one visiting my grandfather every weekend. While everyone else argued about money, I sat with him and listened to his stories. I never told anyone about those conversations. And apparently, neither had he. My dad looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. The same son he had just grounded in front of everyone was now the person holding his father's entire legacy. I still didn't say anything, because this was never about proving anyone wrong. It was simply the moment the truth finally caught up with them. The room stayed completely silent. My dad stared at the lawyer like he was waiting for him to say it was all a misunderstanding. But the lawyer simply closed the folder and spoke calmly. "The documents are final. Your father made his decision very clear." My aunt looked at me with disbelief. "You mean everything goes to him?" The lawyer nodded. "The house, the properties, and the investments. All of it." A few relatives lowered their eyes. Just minutes ago, they had been laughing at me. Now, no one was saying a word. My dad slowly stood up. "This doesn't make sense," he said quietly. "Why would he choose you?" For the first time that night, I spoke. "Because I listened," I said calmly. "I showed up when no one else did. No anger, no pride, just the truth." My dad looked like he wanted to argue, but nothing came out. The same room that watched him humiliate me was now watching him stand there in silence. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I simply picked up my jacket. As I walked toward the door, I paused for a moment and said one last thing. Sometimes the quiet person in the room isn't weak. They're just busy becoming someone you didn't expect. Subscribe.